Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing on the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. This one was sent in by Zachbsain, and it's another dwarf one. He loves his dwarfs, man. He loves his dwarfs. And I love his dwarfs. His dwarfs are amazing. It's paused. Vanguard shenanigans, that's right. It's always the Vanguard shenanigans. That's why it's always paused. Anyway, so, yeah. Looks pretty good, huh? Looks pretty good. And yeah, there's the enemy. So, miners, ton of miners. Norgrim's Ironbreakers as well. More miners. More miners. A lot of miners. Miners everywhere. Also, a ton of rangers, including Ulthar's Raiders. Ulthar's Raiders, brilliant, because they can debuff missile resistance and armor, and all of these rangers can capitalize on that. They have a ton of armor piercing themselves, as you can see, which is super useful, and it's just a horde of miners. All armor piercing, great against Lizardmen. Well, alright, the Bugsmans and, the normal rangers aren't armor piercing, but it's just a huge weight of fire, and skinks don't have a lot of armor. Shoot them. Why the hell not? So, yeah, absolutely wonderful. I love to see this. I love a good Vanguard Dawi build. Also, there are Dragback Slayers, a Runesmith, and Thorgrim. Once again, Thorgrim brilliant here, because he's not infantry. He is not infantry. No one brings anti-large armor piercing against dwarfs. They just don't. That's why I actually really like Krotkar in this one. You think, why would you bring Krotkar? He's super quick. He's really hard to pin down and shoot at. He's like a chariot, you know? And that's what dwarves suck at dealing with. So, I think bring Krotkar. It's good insurance against Thorgrim, and frankly, he can beat the snot out of a Runesmith regardless. So, I think bring Krotkar. But Mazdamundi's here instead. Mazdamundi, obviously great spellcaster, and this guy is really prepared here. You can see he's got Feral Stegodon there, Feral Bastillodon, Feral Stegodon, Feral Bastillodon. He's got a load of skink cohorts with javelins, and a ton of red-crested skinks. So these guys will be great for killing the cheaper infantry. The problem with red-crested skinks in this matchup is they suck against the more expensive stuff. Against things like Norgrim's Ironbreakers, they're not going to touch them. They just can't get over the melee defense. They don't have enough melee attack. And they're very prone to missile fire. And, even blasting charges will just rip through them, and that's a real problem for them. They're great at dealing with Dwarf Warriors and Miners, though. So they're great at punching holes in things, and they will decimate stuff like Rangers and Quarrelers and Thunderers. They're great against all that stuff, but they need to find a good spot to run into. So this can work, with all the big dinosaurs doing the real punching power into the more expensive units. The red-crested skink chiefs can find ways into a line. So this combination does work, but there is a problem with red-crested skink chiefs being relied upon a lot in this matchup. But luckily, the dinosaurs do counterbalance that rather nicely. Also here, Feral Cold Ones. Feral Cold Ones are super useful, actually, in this matchup. They're really good, but they do struggle against certain things, which we'll get into. So, speeding things up. So, huge amount of fire coming in already. So, that opening volley immediately rampaging the Feral Cold Ones. And it's just the usual rampage. It's not Primal Instincts, they're feral units. So, they're charging into the mines of blasting charges, but it's not going to be long before they get taken apart. You can see these miners, they do have armor piercing in melee. They don't have much melee attack, but Feral Cold Ones don't have much melee defense. And that is a problem with Feral Cold Ones. They are great at running down all of the back line, but against anything cheap with armor piercing, they kind of get ruined by it. It's not cost effective. These guys cost 400, these are 450. Even regular miners without the blasting charges will be able to deal with them. So they're dealt with, and more blasting charges are dealing with these skinks. And look at this, ton of skinks being killed. All the dinosaurs starting to push up, and you can see these guys are going to start running in this way. What's nice with this formation of having some here, is this flank, it allows these guys to come in safely, so they can't just get, gooned. And, everything is flanked. It's great. Anything wins over here, it can move around this way. Anything wins over here, it can move around this way. We have no choice but to charge straight into the formation. Because look at this. Feral Stegodon. Feral Stegodons are very expensive. They're very good, and it's been taken out straight away, just singled out by all the missiles. While Ulthar's Raid has been free to throw them. Mark of Ulthar making it even easier to kill them, but sadly, Mazdamundi is into the Ulthar's Raiders now, and that is expensive. That is very, very sad. Luckily, they've used half their ammunition already, and they are armor-piercing in melee too. More units are trying to follow up, trying to get rid of some of the weaker dinosaurs. Because that's the thing. Things like a Bastillodon, super cost-effective here. So, more units start to push in. More blasting charges. Really need to start throwing blasting charges into this unit. Look how juicy that is. Big old dense unit like that. Blasting charges are perfect. So, over here, you can see a unit of miners is dealing with these Feral Cold Ones. That simple. Over here, Rune of Wrath and Ruin is going to help whittle these guys down quicker, and it means the Dragonback Slayers can kill them nice and quickly. They'll really help. That good weapon strength, sure they're anti-large, but the good weapon strength and the very low melee defense of the Red-Crested Skink Chiefs sorry, red-crested skinks. I always want to say chief afterwards. Anyway, it just means they're going to get taken down super quickly. So now, Dragonback Slayers can continue to push in. Thorgrim's now pushing in, buffing nearby units, and the Runesmith is coming in for his runes. But the back line is sort of in turmoil here. All the big dinos are wreaking havoc. They really are. I mean, there's still 4 big dinos here, what with Mazdamundi. It's very scary. But you can see Norgrim's Ironbreakers are still going strong. A load of these miners are pushing into the back line to try and get on top of these dinosaurs. And you can see the feral units don't have the best leadership. So they will get broken fairly quickly, but there's a lot of them and they can do some good damage. They can do some good damage indeed. So here you can see red-crested skinks trying to come in here, stop Norgrim's Ironbreakers, but, I mean, 34 melee attack right now thanks to their frenzy, but 86 melee defense. It's just so hard to get over that. So that is rough, but more units are breaking and these miners are dealing with the feral cold ones that now have no melee defense thanks to the Oath of Vengeance. So these miners will be able to finish them off nice and quickly and get into this fight, which is very, very nice. So, yep, beautifully cost effective. 300 and what is it, like 325 per unit of miners? 450. Just hugely cost effective. Anyway, here, Ulthar's Raiders, they managed to take a step back and they're managing to deal with the feral Bastillodon. That's the problem with the feral units. As soon as they rampage, you can get your valuable units out of the way, throw something cheap at them, and they're going to suffer. Also, melee defense tends to be quite low on units like this as well. So, even the miners with very low melee attack will be able to do some good work. So over here, a banishment on Norgrim's Ironbreakers. This is absolute textbook. This is exactly what you want to use it for. And look at that. That's like half their health has gone. More than half. It's like 2/3 of their remaining health just stripped away. Absolutely wonderfully played there. Really, really good banishment. I mean, that puts him up to 61 kills, which doesn't seem massive, but he's been very busy. So over here, Mark of Ulthar, which is very nice. Going to lower their armor to 90, which is still pretty high, but it will mean that the Bugsman's Rangers and these Rangers will be able to do more damage at range, which is great. You know, they're nice and safe. Rampaged now, but it does look like these miners did get terrified away, which means the Feral Stegodon, which way is he going to go? Oh, thank God, it looks like he's going for these miners, which means these guys can keep shooting. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. More units pulling in. And, oh yeah, over here, this was devastating. This Feral Bastillodon, having such low leadership, being far away from, you know, any lord or hero that could support it, yeah, these Dragonback Slayers just ripped it apart. And now, because it's being slowed by the Dragonback Slayers, they have way more speed than it. They can escort it off the battlefield now. So over here, Ulthar's Raiders are out of ammunition. But over here, Thorgrim and the Runesmith are fighting Mazdamundi. Oath of Vengeance, putting his melee defense down to 14, which is laughable. So these guys will get some really good hits on them. And Stand Your Ground put their melee defense nice and high. But the thing is, with Thorgrim, he's a large target. Mazdamundi has terrible melee attack at 26. Just woeful. It's the anti-infantry that really helps lag, and the splash damage. But one-on-one against a large target, he doesn't do so well. Apotheosis keeping his health up, so that's something, but Mazdamundi's in a lot of trouble there. So Zachbsain just has his number here. Also over here you can see Feral Stegodon still managing to do some work, and Stegodons are very scary. 105 kills for them, but given that most of the army is Rangers and Miners, that's not a huge amount of value that he's managed to gain. That's not a huge amount of value. That's the thing, the Stegodons, they got good splash damage, so they tend to just damage a ton of units on the charge, and then other units can follow up and get the kills, because they have to get fewer hits in to get the kills. But on their own, just running around the back, when they're jumping around, they often don't hit all the right targets, and they can be a real nuisance. So yeah, Stegodon just not able to do the work. He's coming in here to try and help though, and the Runesmith should be the priority, not Thorgrim. You can kill the Runesmith, because he is on foot. So, another Apotheosis trying to keep his health up, but he's struggling. He's struggling. Over here, you can see that the Bastillodon still getting chased off. Some skinks trying to come in to help, and that didn't help. And I think that was a Ruination of Cities was just used on these miners. Not miners, on these rangers, which didn't really work. It was right amongst them, and it all went off in different directions. Sadly, it just didn't get the right arc to deal with the Bugsman's Rangers, and they're just going to regenerate now, which is nice. They're out of ammo, though. So over here, Cold-Blooded keeping his leadership up, which is definitely worthwhile. And Curse the Midnight Wind has been used on the Dwarfs, which is definitely a good call, lowering their melee attack, which is definitely worth doing at this point, because you need to do anything you can to try and stay alive. So over here, a load of units are starting to get a nice surround on these skink cohorts. Everything else is wrapped up in the back. There's the odd unit coming back. Oh, Feral Bastillodon's back in the fight, and the Dragonback Slayers have actually run away from it. So those miners are kind of stuck fighting it now, but it looks like army losses is about to hit. They're breaking, and these guys are taking too much damage to keep the balance of power high enough. So they're off. They're off. Pyrrhic victory. God, wonderful. I love this. I think Dwarfs tend to do really well against Lizardmen, just generally. I think things like the Ancient Salamander is an absolute nightmare for the Dwarfs, because it can outrange Thunderers, which I think is a stupid idea. But, you know, things like that. But they require a lot of micro, and if you're going to go with a big Vanguard army, you can get on top of everything so quickly. That's an absolute nightmare. It's very difficult to sort of exploit those things. When you've got such a cheap army, it's only really the Norgrim's Ironbreakers that would be a worthwhile target for something like the Ancient Salamander. Everything else doesn't really matter if it takes the hits. So, yeah, this is a great, just watertight build. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Being able to get the drop on a load of units immediately. I mean, he lost a unit of Feral Cold Ones and 2 units of Skink, Red-Crested Skinks, like these two. They went down before making a dent. They went down before making a dent. So, yeah, and them. Just so many units just went down without being able to do anything. It just meant that Lizard Wizard here was caught short. Also, Lizard Wizard, hey man, hey. He sent to be replays too. I think I cast one of his recently too. I think so. Anyway, hey man, great fight between you two. But God, Zachbsain, you sly little bugger. But what I find amazing is he did this quite unconventionally. Usually, if I'm in this matchup, I tend to have quite a strong formation. You know, I bring a lot of Longbeards to hold out, you know, resist that terror, and I bring a load of Trollhammer torpedoes to kill the big dinos. But he just went with weighted numbers, and it worked out beautifully here. And just getting the jump on someone like that is devastating. So yeah, amazing. Both great builds, but this was just so unexpected. So unexpected, which is always a joy. So guys, well played both of you, and if you guys enjoyed this at home, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.